Hello and welcome to the Boss It podcast with Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet. This podcast is released every week and is an over-the-shoulder look of a frank and candid discussion between two experienced software executives, providing you with useful tips, techniques and the latest concepts to help you grow your software business in the fast-paced digital age. So let's get into it. Here is Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet.
Hello, this is the Boss It podcast, the podcast for software CEOs, hopefully revealing some of the insider tips, techniques and concepts to help you grow your software business. My name is Mark Edwards, and hopefully on the other end of the line, I've got Michael Humblet. Michael, are you there?
I'm there. Good afternoon, Mark. How are you?
Good afternoon. Very well. We've got clear reception at the moment, and let's see. I hope that it lasts that way. It's not always the case.
After all those years, they still haven't fixed that one, huh?
No, that's right. And we come from the tech sector and we're moaning about tech. Isn't that so common, eh?
It's a hobby, you know, and
is.
hobbies you do with passion.
I think actually that's probably true. We do it with passion. It's one of those common themes, isn't it? Always moaning about the reception when you're using VoIP. Yeah. And the other one that I think is very common, and it used to be so much so with people in the software sector, is that when you would talk to them, they would always draw, I don't know if you've seen this, but you always used to draw diagrams of triangles. I don't know what it was. It would always be.
Yeah, I never thought of that one. Pyramids, upside down the whole time.
Yeah.
Good God.
I used to see it
so
often.
That one in a while.
No, but it used to be. I don't know what it was. And every time you'd have a conversation, they'd say, look, let me just draw something for you. And I thought, I bet you're going to draw a triangle or a pyramid.
The worst that ever happened to me was I was at IBM a long time ago.
Yeah.
We had a meeting, they invited me, and then I had to sit down, and they said, before you start, we as IBM will explain to you how we see this meeting. And I'm watching, and then the guy starts half an hour drawing pyramids, explaining everything that IBM does. And I'm like, I mean, the meeting was half an hour. I'm like, okay, so what do you want now? It's crazy.
Yeah. I think there's lots of organisations that suffer from the problems of having meetings. In fact, I was talking to somebody just last week, and he said the main reason that he left the company was he couldn't handle any more of their internal meetings. He said it was just pointless.
I once actually also left. I got really depressed because it was just meetings on strategy and nothing got done, and I went nuts. I mean, I want to do things.
Yeah. I could see that with you actually.
Yeah. So, how was your week?
Busy. I've been travelling, so I've been abroad, meeting with a number of different businesses, which is always interesting. You know, meeting people for the first time, trying to, get a quick understanding of their business, and then also the time that I spend at the airport and travelling. It gave me a bit of thinking time, and I've got a few points that occurred to me over the past week that I want to have a chat with you about.
Please go. I'm curious. I'm very curious.
Well, I was thinking the other day is that one of the common themes that I discuss with software entrepreneurs, especially in those initial meetings, is why did you start the business in the first place? And I think that we all get so busy and you get into the detail that it is sometimes very easy to forget that objective. And
do you mean on a personal level? Why did you start, or on the bigger scale of things? Because there's a difference, right? Some people say, yes, I did this for, go on.
Yeah, you're right. I think it can be either. I always leave it quite open-ended because it's interesting to see in which direction they go, and it's both valid. It does tell you quite a lot. I think that there are common themes, and this is one of the things that I wanted to bring up today, is that there are common themes that I hear time and time again. I think that software entrepreneurs, they've got certain common denominators. Obviously, they're not scared of technology. Well, most of them aren't, except for if it's internet technology like this. Um, we've had our problems with that in the past, haven't we? Between the two
Yeah,
of us.
yeah.
So typically, they are people that they quite like technology. They keep up to date as much as possible. But I think also I see a great deal of creativity, the ability to be able to apply their knowledge and to create something new, something that can solve a problem, and be able to make a difference. And
Yeah.
that is very, very common. I think there has to be an excitement, an energy that really drives these people, because starting any business is not easy. We mentioned before about high failure rates, but I
Hmm.
think particularly in the software tech sector, and I don't think it's getting any easier, although I think that there is a lot of money available to some startups. I don't think it's any easier to start a business and make it successful. So you need a lot of energy, and I think you need a hunger that to drive you to keep moving you forward.
I agree. The one thing that has changed a bit, I think, is that in a way it's easier to start because there is more technology, but then again, the competition is much fiercer. On the other hand, I also see that it's much easier to get cash than I think 10 years ago.
Yes, I
It's like
think
the promise of something new, and people, yeah, I mean, there are so many mechanisms to get. I had to do a speech today for 30 scale ups,
mm,
and one of the topics, the guy before me was talking about getting cash and all of it, and he was like, I mean, it almost felt like a walk in the park. It was like, you don't need to worry. There is this mechanism. If that doesn't work, there is that, and if that doesn't work, and he just kept building a list, and I'm like, good God. So I mean, that was intriguing because some businesses just are not meant to exist. If I listen to some of these business ideas, I'm like, guys, that's never going to work, right? It just doesn't make sense.
yeah, I don't. I think there is a lot of money out there, and there's a lot of money that's been put into probably relatively few companies. And what I mean by that, the really big investment companies out there, you will see where there'll be sort of small handfuls of those investment companies investing into the same company. And I think that's partly because A, they've probably got a really good idea. They've got the right management team behind it. They've been able to articulate and present it in a very understandable way. They've shown that they've done their research and they've approached those investment companies in the right way. And I think that's important, getting through to the right people, making a match.
Yeah,
But
I
I
agree.
think also on the other side, I think investment companies gain confidence by seeing other investors put money in.
Yeah,
It's a,
they do. They do. They ask if they. Sometimes one of the investors will say, if that other investment company puts money in it, I'm gonna follow. You see that a lot.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
mixed model
Yeah.
approach.
But I still think that there's an awful lot of software companies out there that don't get funding that probably should, but they're lacking a few key skills, and I think that's a shame.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
for us, Boss Equity, we've always been primarily focused on working with software tech businesses to help them grow and then finally sell. And that sales part has been very important. We have raised investment, but I think we've steered clear of it. I think because there is a perception that actually, I don't know if I told you this. I met with somebody a couple of months ago, and first meeting, very positive meeting. He told me he wanted to raise some investment. I said it was something that we'd definitely look at for him, and he was asking me if by next week I could have set up some investors who would be interested in his business. I mean, you know, I think they think it's just the case you pick up the phone and, hi Bob, have you got 10 million to spare? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Sure, boy.
Come on over. Yeah. They honestly, and that perception causes a problem with the client
Yeah.
because they think it is that easy, and it really
Yeah.
isn't.
No.
I think also what can cause that perception is that those that get the investment, it's publicized and
Yeah.
it goes out in the network. all those that don't, they don't go running around saying, well, we never managed to get the investment, because it makes them look like total losers. So
True,
you
true.
don't see what the ratios are. For
No,
every 100 of software tech businesses out there, how many of them actually end up with the funding that they want?
no, true.
That's very difficult to judge.
Well,
Um,
one of the things that I had last week, and it's a long time ago, I had a meeting where I really had like an epiphany. So I'm sitting in this meeting, 7:30 in the morning, drinking coffee, four guys at a table discussing business, and these guys are looking into going in the US to the logistics market with a SaaS software, a software as a service model.
yes.
And we've done some experiments, landing pages. I mean, the sales sprint concept, landing pages. We approached people via different ways, and it's kind of going, but it could be better. And then the guy suddenly looked at me and he says, "Michael, I'm going to stop you there," because I was analyzing what we had to do. And he says, "I want to win. What would you do if budget was not an issue and you want to win?" And I actually never really thought about it in detail because, sorry?
I like that. I like that question.
Yeah. Because you always are limited by, it's always budget. There is always something that's limiting you. And I looked at him and I said to him, "Look, if I would think in an analogy, I would go to a new school. And in that new school, there is, let's say, a bully. And I want to come in and I want to be number one in that school. Like day one, come in. The first thing I would do is I would walk into the new school, figure out who the bully is, and I would hit him, smack him straight in the face and say, 'I'm the big man now.'" So the guy laughed and he said, "That exactly is what I want you to do. Tell me, what do I need to do?" And it changed my mind completely. And I'm really, really been thinking about it for like 7, 8 days now. I said, it's a completely different mindset. Because you come in, you say, "I'm the best." I mean, especially America. "I'm the best. I can prove it." You have a very different thinking pattern. I really like the idea. So I'm really working on that now, thinking, okay, we need to do different things now. Forget what we've been doing. We're going to go there. We're going to do crazy proactive stuff.
Love it. Yeah, I love that idea. I think there's two aspects to that. Is the first thing is in asking the question. You can sit there and you can sit there and sort of say, "What do we need to do next?" "Oh, we could try this or that." But somebody is creating a better answer by asking a better question, which is, if we could do anything, we had an unlimited budget, what would we do? And it really does make you sort of sit up and think, wow, what would I do? I like that.
But I first think you first need a bit of experience at the market, a little bit, figure out what's exactly going on, all of that. Then you should ask the question. Once you're kind of a few weeks down the road, then you need to change strategy. Because in the beginning, I don't think you can, I mean, you just, anyway, I loved it. It shook, I mean, it didn't shook my world, but I'm really thinking I need to do this thinking exercise more. What if I want to dominate and win? Like, I come in and I just eat them alive.
What would that mean? If you had an organization that was dominant and you wanted to enter that market, what would the equivalent be of going to punch the bully on the nose?
You go in full guns blazing. You just stand your ground. You walk in, you'll be on any event, you'll be all over the phone, you'll be all over the place saying, I'm winning, I have the best, this is the big problem and I have the best answer for that. But you need to make a lot of noise. That's where it starts.
Yes.
Go to an influencer, really big influencers. I mean, I know it's some influencer market, but there's a lot of things. So the one thing I'm trying to get now right in my mind is, so there are so many things you can do. What would be most impactful, and what would be like the waterfall principle? I first go there, then I go there, then I go there, then I go there, and try and win and pick up speed. Because you quickly get into red ocean strategies where you have all your competitors, and then suddenly you're going to scream and attack. It's going to delay you, so you have to be careful. Because if you have to do that fight, that's not the right fight to do.
It's an interesting idea, actually. It reminds me, I'm trying to think of organizations that have done that have really come in to a region or have launched a product really strongly. I can think back many years, actually. There was a company called Tower Software.
Yeah.
And do you remember that? And there was a chap that I knew, and I saw him. He came from Australia. a chap called Damien Hyland. He was very well known in the software industry, very talented. Unfortunately, he was killed in a car accident, which was very, very sad. But I met him when he'd first come across from Australia. I was actually working at Uniplex Software at the time in Hemel Hempstead. And I can't remember why we met, but he was saying to me, we had a sort of an off-the-record chat, and he said, I've joined this company. They've told me that they've got this massive pipeline. I've looked at it. It's moved from 3 million down to 300,000. He said, and I'm not even sure that 300,000 is solid. He said, I don't know if I made the right move, but I'm going to give it a go. And bit by bit, he became very, very successful. And what in talking to a lot of the people that work for him, especially on the software side, apparently he used to start every meeting, or he would mention it at least once, which was, we're out there and we're going to beat this company. So he'd picked the biggest company that he saw that was in competition with. I think it was OpenText, actually. And he used to say to the guys, our job is to beat OpenText. How can we beat them? We're going to war.
If you think about it, it's like, how does a dictator, or how do you get power in a country? It's you find a common enemy or a common cause. That's what he's doing, right? Common causes work. Yeah.
Giving them a focus. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I absolutely love that one. And then the second thing too, because that fits within the winning, is I had lots and lots and lots of discussions with companies around cold calling. Lots of people told me, Michael, cold calling is dead. It doesn't have scale. And I have to say, I do not agree. It really depends which industry and where you are. It has its limitations. On the other hand, you can add a lot of people. But I know, for instance, in UK, you guys had a lot of issues with being, how do you say that? Not killed, but being overrun with cold calling. Like all these offshore agencies being calling into you. I remember being there and getting one phone call after the other saying, this is not possible.
Yeah, I think that what that was that a lot of the call centers that were set up, where the English language was the primary language that they were using, they saw obviously the UK as a target. And we got a lot of the early call centers really bombarding the UK from around the world, whether it was India or wherever. Yeah. And I think it created, and it was very badly done. That was the problem. It was really badly done, and it created such a cynicism. I don't think it's something particular about the English psyche that they don't like cold calling any more than anyone else, but it was badly done. It created a bad reputation, and I think consequently there is a hangover from those days. That an unannounced call coming through on your phone is probably not that well received.
No, and they're getting smarter. They're now phoning with local numbers, and I mean, you have to do it the smart way. The one thing, my answer always to that is that I say, look, I think you need a multi-layered approach. You need to find multiple touch points. So it can be an email, it can be a cold call, can be a LinkedIn reach out, there are many ways of doing it, but you need it layered and you need to track it.
Yes.
And then whatever works in whatever region, that's what you scale then. And all of that is scalable. So is it that? No, in certain areas, I know it's the only way to get somewhere. In others, I know it's never going to work. So,
do you think that it also depends on who it is you're trying to contact?
Yeah, some roles like execs, forget it. You won't get them. I don't believe that. I think a bit lower you can. You can. I do think everything that's exec and above is really referral based, where you know somebody that introduces you, and I mean you get that rolling, and that works the best.
Have you seen really successful sort of telemarketing, cold calling campaigns that have made a big difference to businesses?
Well, today I talked to a guy who has a media agency, and he said every Tuesday morning they phone all of the company, everything that has to do something with sales, and so it's about 20 people. I think they start phoning from 9 to 1. They all do it together.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, and he says they've perfected the script and perfected it, and they have a hit ratio of 40% for appointments, which is pretty impressive, honestly.
That's very high.
Yeah, so I do think it can work. I mean, the guy, because I was doing this speech and said cold calling's that, and no, I don't know. And he was like saying, no, 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 no. In my business, this works.
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely in some industries it does seem to work.
Yeah.
I think my frustration, not about cold calling, is about who's doing the cold calling. And again, I think this is something that has really started to die out quite strongly now, which was where software companies would employ experienced software salespeople and expect them to do lots of cold calling. And I always thought that's crazy.
Yeah.
Those software people aren't probably
No.
the best people at doing
But
that.
that's why I strongly believe that you need to split sales and prospecting into two different roles.
Yes.
And that's going to give you a scale because you want your sales to do meetings and close deals, and you want somebody else to build the lists and do calling and all of this stuff. I mean, we discussed this several times already, but I think that's the key to success is split it up. It's also going to be cheaper to split it up, and then you run with it. Keep pouring fuel, which are the leads, into the machine, and then the sales is the machine that just has to do the meetings and the quotes and the closing.
What about social media nowadays? What are you seeing happening there?
Well, I absolutely believe in the personal branding, let's call it like that. I used to say thought leadership, but that's very tricky. So it's more personal branding where you actually answer questions of your customers. You're
Yes.
not selling, but you're answering those questions. So you give true value,
Mm.
and people will follow you because of your expertise and of your true value, and they'll figure out very quickly in which company you work, and they'll very quickly, if they like what you say and they think it makes sense and it adds value, they very quickly will buy your software. It can completely, in a few months' time, change your sales funnel. But you have to keep it up once a week, tack, 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 and that's tough. Most people can get to 3, 4 weeks and then
Yes.
they let it go. So you need to get beyond the 6, 7 weeks. I mean, you've been doing it, Mark, a lot, and you see the effect.
Yeah, yeah, we do. I think it's not easy though. It takes time. You've got to keep working at it. You've got to be persistent. Well, like anything, if you want to be successful, you've got to keep working at it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and to be self-critical as well. I think that sometimes can be difficult if you've got somebody who's working hard at something, but then to be able to pull them up and highlight to them where perhaps it's not working. That can be quite difficult. But I think guidelines, something that we were discussing, I was on a marketing call earlier today, which was for the post that we're going to be making sure that there is a brief. It's not telling everyone within the organization word for word what they need to be writing, but making sure that it's relevant, making sure that it does fit with our brand about who we are
Yeah,
and what we
and
do.
and don't sell. That's the whole point.
Yes.
The people just smell it and they don't like it, and they have the intrinsic motivation to do things, and if they have the problem or they feel it or they think, they will come to you. But the thing is, this is just a bit of a longer term strategy. It's not short term. That's number one. And two, if you keep it up, it's gonna get very broad and very wide, so you will have a lot of traction.
One of the things that I did for a number of years, and I haven't been doing it as much recently, was writing a blog post. When I first started that, I was told, be real. And what they
Yeah.
meant by that was it's got to reflect your own personality. And I always tried to do that. And I think I did get some good comments back on that. Would I have a meeting with somebody and typically most people will want to get a feel for the person that they're going to meet. And I think
Sure.
this was a good medium for them to get a feel for me. That
Sure.
was that was the feedback that
Yeah.
I got anyway.
I, I know the feeling. I used to write very serious blog posts, and
Yeah.
now, I mean, I mean, you know me. I like to make jokes and have this surrealistic approach to it. The Monty Python effect in a blog post, a bit of fun. And I started doing that, really doing that, thinking, you know what, that's who I am, and it really works. And the people that like it, they like it a lot. That's you polarize in a way. Huh?
Yeah, yeah,
But
you're right.
and
I
it's
think,
funny. I feel much happier writing this stuff.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's right. And I think that's why I like this podcast, because it's not scripted, it's not phony, it's not us. We're not keep selling all the time. It's us having a conversation. It's us recounting things that might have occurred to us, during the week, ideas that have come to us. It's a reflection, isn't it?
It's
It's
real business life.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be real, because I think you're absolutely right. People sniff it out. If it's phony, people
Yeah,
can smell it, and I think that's
absolutely.
really important. It's one of the aspects that I enjoy doing what I do around mergers and acquisitions, because I get to meet a lot of very senior software people who have been in this industry some time, and I think in the first few minutes, sometimes it's first few meetings, they're they're making an assessment. I'm making an assessment of them all the time. I'm thinking, what would this person be like as a client? You must do a similar thing.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
always doing that
And
assessment. Would I really want to work with this guy
yeah,
long
I
term? Because you
actually, a few weeks ago, I said no to somebody in a nice way because of this. And I really thought this
you
is
didn't
never
you,
going to
you didn't
work.
just punch them on the nose like you do with the
No,
bully.
I would have loved to do that, but we're
Yeah,
sensible, civilized people. But I was really thinking, no, 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 this is insane. This is not going to work. But I did try in the beginning, and then after a while, I thought, no. I was really happy when I said no, and we split it ways. But you have to do it in a nice way because you always keep bumping into each other, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. So there's that assessment that you're making of them, but they're always making the assessment of you. And then I
Yeah.
find that they start to reveal something about themselves. And the interesting one that I had last week was it was actually a follow-up meeting, and I'd spoken to two of the minor shareholders within a business,
Mhm.
and they they had some concerns. They felt that the other shareholders weren't aligned.
Mhm.
They saw that there was a timing opportunity to be able to work on their business and then move towards an exit. They felt that their skills didn't really suit a much larger organization. They needed a company with better resources, and they wanted to go off and create something new. But they felt that the other shareholders were completely thinking the other way. They wanted to just keep going, maybe for another 10 years. So they set up for me to go and meet with one of the other key shareholders. And I was thinking, wow, I mean, what are they expecting? They've known these guys for years and years, and they want me to go in there and sort of convince this guy that to go in a completely different direction. But the interesting thing was that, again, once we'd got through that initial bit, he'd got a feel for me, I'd got a feel for him. We had a very frank conversation, and actually, the shareholders were more aligned than they believed they were. But they hadn't
Yeah,
had that conversation. There
yeah, yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
that difference in opinion that they thought was really there. And I've seen that quite a few times. I think sometimes when you're talking about shareholding within a business, there
Mhm.
is a reluctance sometimes to talk about the potential
Of
sale of it.
course, of
And
course.
that's why so many of these businesses, they don't have an exit strategy. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to bring it
No,
up. It's almost seen as,
isn't it also a bit, I sometimes wonder, in a way, for some people, it might be perceived as failure because you're not, it's like you're giving up. I'm going to sell
yes.
it.
And do you know what? It can't be further from the truth. I think a lot of businesses fail because they just run out of energy. They
Yeah,
just
yeah.
they just where those guys are really good, they're taking something, they're developing it, they're creating the value, they're building that value, and then I think maybe they're not so good at taking to the next stage, or maybe they've just run out of the excitement that they need for taking that forward. We all need to go and do something fresh now and again, don't you? You,
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
need to reinvent things, and they need a new challenge. I think a lot of these software entrepreneurs, they love a challenge. They love the creative side of it. And it's not failing at all. It's actually saying, right, well, I'm no longer the best guardian of this business. I'm going to really be proactive instead of just running out of energy. And
Hmm.
this, I'm not necessarily talking about people that are nearing retirement, but that
Yeah,
does
yeah.
happen as well, is that you get people entering sort of retirement age and they can't physically work as hard as they did.
No,
And,
no, I
and,
agree.
and that's an issue, and they haven't planned it early enough. But I think it's also much younger people where they really should is take that energy and go and put it into another business and look behind them with pride to say, I started that business and look where it is now. And I took it through the complete cycle and I sold it and I've put some money behind me and I've got some money to invest into a new venture, and they go on again to create new jobs, new innovation, new solutions. And I think that's really positive. But
Absolutely.
I think
No, no,
some I think they sort of see it as giving up.
yeah,
It's
no,
not.
but I can imagine some people must have the feeling.
Yeah, no, it's not at all. It's I think it could be a really very, very positive thing.
Hmm.
And I think if perhaps more people look at it in that way, I think that there would be more successes.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
so many businesses that you've known about for some time, they just drift and they start to go into this downward spiral, and that's very tough. It's like an aircraft. It's tough to to pull it out of that sort of death spiral that some businesses get into, and they just need to think a little bit ahead. But I suppose that's my job in part, is to go and spread that story and just get people to stop and think. And that's why we do the seminars and we
yeah.
go out and have
You're like the
meetings.
exit coach.
Yeah, exit coach. Yeah, the
Would be new
exit mentor.
exitcoach.com.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm just having a look at the clock. We've done 30 minutes and 30 seconds, so that's not bad time.
Perfect.
Yeah, so time is up. I'd like to thank people for listening. I'd like to welcome any questions or comments that you may have. And I'd just like to say that this was the Boss It podcast, Unlooking the Software Industry One Conversation at a Time, by Michael Humblet and Mark Edwards. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you and goodbye. And thank you, Michael. It was great talking to you.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.